Well, today our presentation is going to be an interesting one because it broaches a new way of thinking about the audio chain. And Adrian Berkovits and Catfish Dosch are with us. And I'm just going to turn it right over to you guys and tell us about the Prism.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Barry. For everybody here, we really appreciate all of your time. You don't really know me, a few of you may, but I just want to, if you can allow me just 3 minutes to give you a brief, like kind of a bio about me.
Please do.
Great. Um, from the very beginning, I have to admit, ever since I was about 8 or 9 years old, I've been obsessed with audio. My first experience was in the back of the Cadillac of my dad's car, hearing an 8 track of basically ABBA. And without realizing it, I was actually dissecting the hi-hat, the snare, the bass guitar, the piano. And from there, early on as a teenager, I became a musician and, so into my teens, I started to compose. I learned guitar and the drums and whatnot. Locally in Toronto, we've got a school of rock, and I became a teacher there on weekends. And so music has always been a part of my life and audio. From there, I got into mixing, engineering, mastering, recording others, and just been obsessed. And but at the same time, when I was a teenager, I was always a techie, like Catfish, always, building little gadgets and wiring electronics and things like that. And when the 90s hit, I really got into the web and got into another obsession there and started getting into the entrepreneurial kind of a spirit. And late 90s, I started an ISP for a few years. It was actually a wireless ISP, which was very hard to do at the time. And we were basically creating connections, point to point to multi-point, to compete with people that were offering T1 lines for, 2, 3 thousand a month. And that ran for a bit. And you go a few more years later, around 2011, I co-founded a streaming company to compete with Triton. And I've been there ever since, up until a couple of years ago. I was the chief technology officer, and I exited a couple of years ago to pursue other interests. And along that path, along the way of being in the streaming company, I've dealt with all of you in terms of engineers, engineering, executives at the broadcast level, and truly have learned a lot along the way because originally I came from a SaaS point of view, building applications on the web. I worked with banks, insurance companies, etc. But being in broadcast, as we all know, is a different kind of animal. And those lessons were quite deep. I've learned that reliability has to be key, not just with streaming, because that's where I actually came from. I cut my teeth there, as I said, since 2011. But like RF, everything. I've learned a lot from engineers, and I mentioned to Barry a bit earlier on the call that I'm naturally a very curious human. I ask a lot of questions because I deeply need to understand why a widget works, why a topic works, why a thing operates actually the way it does. But then I start to dissect it and I'm like, how can it be made easier? Why is it done this way? I always ask, why? Can it be done in an easier way? So along the decade, I've been hearing a common kind of theme from a C-level suite down to engineers that in terms of the distribution of satellite and delivering to affiliates, doing STL, all that kind of jazz was either too expensive, too complicated, too complex. We all know what it's like to configure relays and to change channels on a receiver. But because I came from the background of streaming, I didn't honestly do anything about it. I just listened. And I started to really connect the dots a couple years ago. And then when I exited, I kind of looked around and my gut was saying, we need to do, something about this. There needs to be a better way. I think satellite's fantastic. I'm not the guy to, bash anything. I like technology. I like it all. It was great in its time. It really was, and it still is. But like any tech, it has, limitations. And I became really curious and I thought there's got to be a better way. So I started really, really digging and grabbing onto my experience with, again, really deeply learning of how the internet operates ever since it became available to the public, in the mid 90s. I've realized that it's actually matured to a pretty decent level now where it could be made reliable for our industry. But then I thought, how and why, all of the above. And then I started to talk with also a Catfish, obviously, and brought him along on the journey. And basically, I created this concept where I did actually mention this to Barry prior to everybody hopping on board, that the name Prism came from a simple idea. I'm a prog rock fan. I love Pink Floyd. And I was thinking, how is this happening? Well, the main thing that's happening here is you bring in a feed, and let's call it colors, because as a musician, I think in actually colors, it's white coming in, it's neutral. But then it's got to go out to all different flavors in different ways. And to me, those are different colors. And all of a sudden, this a visual reaction in my head happened, which was a prism. And again, the Pink Floyd, logo and all that stuff. So that's how I came up with the name itself. And then slowly but obsessively, I brought in really, really, really great people to help me along the way to build what I had envisioned. So what I'd like to take you through, I want to be very clear. I'm not pitching anybody here. I just want to explain what the technology is. And to be also clear, this has been in kind of like in beta mode now for a solid year. I've been building it for 2 years, really quietly, but now on this call, it's the first time that anybody actually knows about it in the public eye. So I'm very happy about that and to have everybody here as a part of that. I'm going to take you through basically the top 3 areas: the delivery, the hardware involved, which will invite Catfish in, and then I'll take you through how we manage it. To start off with, and I'm going to open up the screen in a second, but just wanted to give you a bit of a concept here is, a lot of people aren't, but I'm a big Apple fan. And I think we can all agree at some level that when you plug in anything that is Apple, it just kind of works. And it's really ultra easy, and it's a simple, kind of like an ecosystem, right? Plug it in, you expect it to work, and it works. So I modeled Prism from the very beginning based on that. Can we make it easy? Like, I mean, really beyond easy, but allow the customization under the hood to give everybody the ultra control to twist the knob, all the knobs, the dials. So you can go in actually deep if you want to, but you don't have to. So that's why I did it, because I had that opportunity to make it the way I wanted to make it, which is kind of like Apple, where it just you turn it on and you'll leave it alone. So Barry, if it's okay with you, I'd like to take everybody through this in an open environment. So if anybody has any questions along the way, you can interrupt me or put your hand up. I'm happy to answer along the way, or we can do a Q&A at the end. It's entirely up to you, if that's cool. So let me share my screen.
I muted myself. Absolutely great. Yes, anyone wants to jump in, you can raise your hand and we'll call on you. If you hit your alternate A or space bar, it'll unmute your microphone. The chat box is available, and I'll try to monitor the YouTube chat as well.
Great,
So, Adrian, please
great. Thanks.
clue us in.
Thank you, Barry. I won't have access to the chat if I have this open on the screen. So if there is a question on the chat, I'd just like you to tell me and say, hey, there's a question here, if that's cool. All right, got this open. Let me know when you guys can see it.
Very good.
All right, simple logo. I will start there though. You'll see that the I is a 1 and the S is an 8. Prism 18 is the actual domain, and the reason it's 18 is for a lot of reasons. The number I'm a numerology guy, and 18 always came up. We've spent a solid, again, almost 2 years, but it's been a deep, like 18 months of 18 people of 18-hour days, and just kind of resonated. So hence the name. So what Prism really is, and again, leaning on the Apple kind of, thing, it is an ecosystem. We've all heard the term, guys, like, CDN in streaming, we've heard it 1,000 times. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to avoid it because to me, being obsessed about audio, I didn't want to build a content, delivery network. I really wanted to build an audio delivery network, which is hyper-focused. And that's why I just thought of the acronym ADN. And this is high level. And the reason it's high level is because I want you guys to ask questions. Again, let's be really open here. Our website is just a landing page right now. We're not actually publicly launching the website for another 2 weeks. So again, this is a glimpse into what we're actually up to. So, but again, I'm happy to answer anything. In the audio delivery network, the primary lessons I've learned along the way in my decades of the career that I've had up until now is you gotta avoid a few things. So vendor lock is a term that I use a lot, and we've all seen it, even just a few weeks ago or a month ago, where AWS had a problem. AWS has a problem, and then other technologies go down, other services go down. And I come from a solution architect brain. And as an architect, I always say, avoid vendor lock as best you can. And I use the word redundancy over and over and over again, because again, it's an obsession of mine. And we all know in our business, we need to be up all the time. And if we're able to negate any issues, then we'll do it. So the way we've done the ADN at a high level is we use every vendor we can get a hold of. So for example, AWS, the Google Cloud, Azure. We also have partnered with private data centers that are not cloud services whatsoever. So even if AWS and Google Cloud and Azure go down, our system is still up and running. I want to be clear there. Like, that's a big deal. That took a long time to figure out. But again, it's just coming from that obsession of having uptime. And even within those environments of AWS and the Google Cloud, et cetera, we got to have redundancy up the wazoo. To put it lightly, it's very important. And throughout the journey of cloud, we talked about like AI at the beginning, right? AI is the big buzzword right now. We can all remember at the NAB where every booth had the word cloud in it, under 10 years ago. And that's evolved too. It's gotten really good. But again, it has positives, it's got negatives. So beyond cloud infrastructure, we've got also dedicated hardware with providers that I trust, that I've been working with now for over 15 years. So that gives us comfort to provide a service that everybody expects at the end of the day. So going back to this high level, visual here, it all starts with audio, as we all know. every broadcast head end is going to have two encoders, software based, and we're working on hardware based as well. And again, providing flexibility. You'll notice there's a crisscross pattern. And that's, again, through the streaming experience we've had over the years, that you cannot just have a single encoder using a single connection to the internet, going to a single point of entry or ingest point. It has to cross. It just has to. And then that way you mitigate. So we've implored that, but we've gone even actually deeper, where inside the little icon of the cloud, those ingest points are also talking to each other and reporting each other's health privately. And down deep to the packet level, we are choosing which endpoints are the healthiest to provide the audio outbound. And we just have these little icons around it for the affiliates as an example, because I'll get to it a little bit later, but the initial offering, if you will, is to replace a satellite distribution offering, so affiliate delivery. That's where this layout is really focused on. It's about delivering to affiliates. You could use this for like STL as well. We'll get to that in a bit later, but the main thing is to distribute audio to your affiliates or to whoever needs it. Each affiliate, in this case, will have a hardware unit, which we'll get into in a second. That hardware unit is very intelligent, and Catfish will get into all that as well. But just to give you, again, a high-level explanation of the ADN itself, it's really as easy as that. There's an encode, there's all the brains in it on the internet that happen, and the affiliates are able to digest it. Now, if we dig down a little bit more, actually, how about if I pause? Does anybody have any questions? Because I am going to get into geo-targeting, local ads, and the commercial triggering as well.
I would assume that one of the areas that you're looking to sell to would be the major networks themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We are, I'm not able to mention who they are yet. I will soon, in a little bit, but we've already have an agreement for a rollout for a network that has over 1,000 affiliates. And we are in the process of rolling them out as we speak. So to your point, actually, Barry, yeah, it's designed for networks. It's designed for little networks. It's designed for really any broadcaster who just needs to feed their audio. And it could be a schedule of shows. It can be 24 hours a day. It could be however you wish. And I'll get to that as well at the end. I believe that's the last slide. Yeah.
Everyone's looking, of course, and they're worried about what's going to happen with C-band and what the FCC is going to do in terms of auctioning part or all of what's left. So we know that KU is not as reliable during storms. We know that broadcasters are nervous about losing C-band. And so this is obviously one of the areas in which your entire structure is designed to overcome.
Yes, exactly. And I literally, at the very beginning of the concept, I took a good hard look at what is the problem we're trying to solve. I'm always coming from that. On my business card, it says problem solver, because I don't care about being a president or VP or anything like that. It's more about helping others, truly being a useful human. And I've realized that that's the problem we're trying to solve here. And as a result of that, we've taken it a step even further, is we're making it in a way where it's kind of a drop-in replacement for any kind of a satellite receiver. And we'll get into that in a second. But the feature-wise, it's got to be robust enough to support the needs. So from the basic, core, we all know it needs to be geo-targeted. These affiliates, as an example, on the picture, need to have local IDs triggered. The triggering needs to be dead accurate. It needs to be flawless. You need to be able to trigger commercials that are targeted to that local affiliate or to the local stick. You need like EAS alerts to traverse the network and make it to the ingest point of the receiver at the end, either at the station in your automation system or at the tower site. We've built connectors to talk to any automation system out there. So it can trigger like a GPO, it can trigger, like SIOs or like a virtually, all of the above. We've taken it a step further. We've heard a lot of complaints that I want everybody to be clear that whenever I hear a complaint, I see an opportunity. So I listen. One complaint was that triggering wasn't smooth enough. So I took a hard look at, well, can we do crossfading? Can we somehow mute the live feed in a graceful kind of a way where it's really seamless into either the local ID or whatever imaging has to happen, locally at the receiver end. So we've developed this kind of crossfade effect where it's actually customizable. So if you want a short crossfade or no crossfade at all, or something longer or shorter at the front and at the back of it, it's entirely up to you. You can do it however you wish. So we always pay attention and we always listen. Any questions around that before I get to the hardware? Because I'm going to pass the baton over to Catfish in a second.
Got a quick question for you, Adrian. Hello.
Dude, hi.
Hi, good to see you.
Dude.
Always think about the dinner that we had at our house with you and your wife. So thanks for coming by. One question would have to do, as an affiliate of a lot of things at our various radio stations, most of them run just fine. And most of the time, any problems that we have with regard to contact closures and timing that you just said, most of the time you can trace that back to somebody filling in for the producer. They don't get when to push the button. They don't understand what's going on at the affiliate. And so we got to solve that on a person by person basis there, which sometimes that does happen well. There's a new satellite receiver out that seems to be late on contact closures pretty consistently. And so cutaways are ragged. You hear a second of the network spot before your local spot plays. And for example, all the other receivers through the same automation system don't do that. It's just one receiver on the programs. What I'm wondering, though, is if it would help if there were some easy peasy visual way or a nice log that was easily decipherable for the program producer or the program distributor to be able to get visual confirmation that, yes, my closure went out at the right time. Yes, I'm hitting this at the right time. Or even a way for the producer of the show to be able to conveniently hear what's going on at the other end of the chain. There's a pretty well-known computer fix-it guy after years of struggling, we had to drop his show because the bumper music was always contained vocals and was at 100% loudness. Whereas the networks that know how to do this, bumper music that your call letters go over, is at some lower level, 6, 8, 9, 10 dB lower, and doesn't have vocals. So this is one thing that affiliates struggle with. I would say more so than equipment problems is the proper use of that equipment. And it would just be nice if there were some ways for the people using the gear at the sending end to realize what they're doing or doing wrong.
Yeah, Kirk, you make a good point. And I have to apologize from the very start. I didn't have any names on the side of Zoom. I just had my diagram, and I didn't recognize your voice at the very, very beginning. So I'm sorry, Kirk.
Okay. Thanks. I'm sorry. I'm in a hotel room. My wife's back behind me, so that's why the fake background.
No, it's all good. I didn't recognize you at the very beginning, and your name never popped up, so I apologize. Yeah, man, it's so good to see your face. So okay, so there's no need to decipher any logs in our system unless you want to. We've, with our client that we're launching with, there's an internal support team, and we made it so that them and anybody else who subscribes to Prism as a client will see exactly to your point, actually, Kirk, where imagine this. You will have a visual timeline in the portal dashboard. Like everybody is going to get a role-based permission portal that you log into to manage this whole thing. It's an ecosystem. So think of that. And I'll show you a bit of it at the end of the slides, where you will be able to see the closure that says, okay, I got this closure at 10:02.38, seconds. This was the closure. This is when it hit the encoder. This is when it hit our ecosystem, and this is when it hit the receiver. And you'll be able to also hear what came out of the receiver for confidence. So we're actually recording also at the same time everything that's coming out of the encoder, everything that's coming out of our infrastructure, and everything that's coming out of the receiver, so you can compare what the heck is happening. So to your point about timing, all that stuff, you'll be able to see and hear everything along the chain. That way you're able to diagnose what happened or what is happening live. One thing I wanted to add there also, Kirk, is on the encoder side, we've designed it in a way, and this is again based on experience, all the metadata that's coming in from automation are used as the triggers. Typically it'll come in the title tag. And that information usually, like 99.82% of the time, comes in early. So because it comes in early, it'll sound like crap. So we've developed a delay mechanism down to a MS level, where on the encoder, you're able to delay it. And you're able to synchronize it to the audio. So that way, when you're hearing the bumper, when you're hearing the local ID, commercial, local imaging, it happens right when you expect it. That's critical. And the encoder allows you to do that because you can actually delay it or shift it. And we walk through the process of analyzing that timing with every client, because every client's different. We've all seen it. You can change a Cat5 cable and the timing will change. It can change by a quarter of a second. I've seen it happen. Or you change it from a Cisco switch to something else. It'll change the timing. So we're constantly in touch with the broadcaster to analyze timing of their metadata. And again, having that visibility in the dashboard with the timelines without having to look at logs, we process the logs on the broadcaster's behalf so they have a clear visual view in the timeline as to what happened with every closure. And you're able to create any closures you want however you wish. Hope that helps.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So if there's anything else or any other questions? Actually, there is one other thing I wanted to mention. Within the delivery network, the bit rates are completely customizable. So it's up to the broadcaster. It's up to the client. It's not up to the affiliate, but it's up to the network who would become a Prism, a client at the head end. We support all the various codecs, but we can also, we don't have to go through them all, but we do support them all. We do also support PCM though. So if anybody wants to broadcast over an SD-WAN with 2100 kilobits per second, they can do that too. Where our technology is agnostic to the bit rate and the codec. We can support whatever you throw at it, essentially. So again, providing that flexibility. Just wanted to make sure that people are aware of it. And unlike a brick type of solution where you push to a static IP, I want everybody also to be clear that when you plug in a receiver, and we're going to get into this on the next few slides, our receiver is pulling. It's not pushing. So it has the intelligence to detect the health and the multi-layers in our network that imagine multiple layers and multiple like lanes on a highway, but they are it's like a stack on top of each other, and the receivers are constantly looking, saying, where's the healthiest? Where is it? I'm going to go grab it. In the meantime, the audio experience is it's really like a seamless experience at the end. So that's why we're pulling. That's why the encoders are not pushing directly to the affiliates, because it won't know if there's a problem. For example, on the public internet, you can have a routing point go down. And if that goes down, whatever device is pushing, let's say a brick is pushing to another brick, it won't know to heal itself automatically. It's relying on the public internet to heal itself. And we've seen it, right? It can be 2 minutes of outage, could be 2 hours. Our system is the other way around. It looks and it finds the healthiest path, and it latches onto it and it grabs it. If it becomes unhealthy, it just goes to the next one. But it's automatic. So I just wanted to remind everybody that I forgot to mention that part. So without further ado, how about Catfish? How about if I pass it on to you and we can get on the receiver end for the affiliates?
Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so I would like to convince you that Angry Audio is a big part of this, but we're really a little part of this. We're kind of like the flea on the tail of the dog. But I'm really grateful that Adrian invited us to be his hardware partner, because I mean, gosh, you guys know me. I've been around quite a while, and I would say that I think the Prism approach, technology-wise, is just as interesting as Livewire. That's how cool I think this is. And something that he said earlier, I think has to be repeated, and that is that probably the most impressive thing to me is, and I don't even know the tech word for this. There's probably a tech word, but it's this idea that the system runs simultaneously on multiple worldwide servers at the same time in parallel. So it's not, well, I'm going to run my system on AWS, or I'm going to run my system on Azure. No, it runs on all of them simultaneously. And also, if you could imagine that Google Cloud fails and Azure fails and AWS fails all at the same time, there's even servers to back that up. And it's belt and suspenders and more belts and suspenders. And I think that this is what's necessary in order to replace satellite. I'll be honest, satellite works. Yeah, it's got its issues, but if we introduce something that's not more reliable than satellite, I don't think it's going to make a great replacement. And so when Adrian shared his thoughts and his architecture and then showed me the demo, I was hooked. It's like, yeah, okay, so yes, please, we want to make the hardware for this. The hardware is kind of boring, to be honest with you. We actually call it software-defined interface. So what you're looking at here is a decoder. This is a quad decoder. There are more products in the pipeline, but this one's actually been built and deployed already. We also have some hardware encoders that are coming, and we have. Not going to get into what we have, so have coming. But this particular one has four simultaneous program channels, It comes out stereo analog and also AES EBU, same time. And then it's got 32 contact closures. So each program can have 8 contact closures that are part of its group. So you can imagine, like baseball, for example, uses a lot of closures. And so you can imagine, I need 6 or 7 closures just for a baseball game. Um, it could use up all of them if you didn't have enough. So that's why there's 32 closures. You'll notice there's 2 Ethernet jacks on the back, Ethernet A and Ethernet B. And I think Adrian addressed this, but I'll kind of say it again. On the head end, on the program origination end, the network end, it's a requirement that it is dual Ethernet on the front end. On the back end, at the affiliate level, it's a recommendation. Okay, so we can't tell every affiliate you must have main and backup internet on this box, but we really recommend it. And in fact, we have a partnership with MaxConnect to offer the what is that called? MaxConnect Wireless. I think that's what it's called on the backup for those locations that might not be able to get 2 wideband internet connections. And so um, it's got a main power supply. It's got a backup power supply. The backup power supply is a wall wart. And excuse me, in this case, it's a line lump. It's a pretty big thing, and it's like a brick with cables coming out of both ends. And so if you ever lost your mains, you could switch to the backup. Software knows about all this. I mentioned it's software-defined interface. Probably the coolest thing about this is actually there's 2 really cool things. Thing one is what happens when the box first gets plugged into the network. The first thing that happens is it finds the software as a service on the internet, and it makes connection, and the service actually configures the box basically, which is really cool. And then the second thing, which is related and also cool, but it's if you ever had a box fail. Now that's Angry Audio, so they'll never fail. But if you ever had a box that failed, uh, the process of replacing it would be you take out the box, you plug in a new box, you go to your portal and you say, I plugged in a new box, and it reconfigures it. So, it's just amazing to me that everything is software controlled. And so that makes our job really easy. We just have to make reliable hardware for you. And is there anything that I missed that you'd like to bring up hardware wise? Because we're kind of the flea on the tail of the dog here.
No, Catfish, I think you nailed it. Again, to make it really, really easy, even if we were to do a software update, you'll get a notification either by an email or on the dashboard. It's entirely up to you that, hey, there's a new update on the box. All you got to do is reboot it. And when you reboot it, it grabs the latest version and it boots up. There's nothing to configure. It just turns on. And another kind of a cool feature that we paid attention to, I don't know, about 8 or 9 out of 10 engineers we spoke to that were using existing hardware were saying that, okay, let's say there's a program that they're grabbing for the afternoon and they realized, oh, it's on channel 1. Oh, shoot, I need to change it to channel 2, but I'm in my car at the moment. I'm not in the studio. I need to change it to channel 2 and I can't. It takes a long time to figure out, they have to get a person at the station or they got to pull over on their laptop and they have to configure it to channel 2. In our case, I'll show you afterwards, but it's browser based. So you literally go and you edit the program up until the last like 30 seconds of the start of the program, change the drop down from channel 1 to channel 2 and hit save. The box automatically updates in about 3 seconds, and now it's on another channel as you wished. So very easy to configure. And we also made it, actually, if I could add there also a Catfish, that the relay closures are directly how can I put that? They're identically mapped to the existing hardware that exists out there in the
Yeah,
marketplace.
you're using careful language. Yes,
It's a
these the relay, the GPIO connectors are exactly the same as the GPIO connectors on the satellite receivers that are
it's a
out there already. So it really is, you unplug the cables and you plug the cables back in and you're back in business.
it's a drop-in replacement, yeah. And then you would go to our dashboard, the Prism level of dashboard, and every channel would be its own individual column, and you map the relays on the dashboard, and the box just, accepts it. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to go over, Catfish, or any questions?
Our part's pretty boring. Would you show them the screens? Everybody wants to see the screens, Adrian. They're beautiful.
All righty, let's go through that. So this is just, again, high level, but you can easily be able to see that the Prism portal is something that everybody will have access to. It's a management website, for lack of a better term. Any device will use it. iPads, laptops, phones, etc., tablets. And main thing I want everybody to know is that it's really role-based. So it's based on the permission of the network. So you'll have network users, you'll have engineers, you'll have affiliates, you'll have client admins, you'll have client super admins. They all have different permission levels. So for example, a role can be where you're allowed to create shows. You're allowed to configure relays, but you're not allowed to configure channels. That's up to the affiliate. You could do it that way. You slice and dice the permissions however you wish. You can also upload shows. Let's say, for example, you have a show which is pre-recorded. It could be aired anytime the affiliate actually wants to. So you can upload a show. Let's say it's a 1 hour show. You'll be able to upload it, be able to assign all your triggers at the right time that you want, assign the local IDs to the triggers, hit save, and all of your affiliates will act accordingly, right? Immediately. The affiliates will also be able to delay it anytime they want. Let's say one affiliate wants it at 2 p.m., the other one wants it at 6 p.m. actually tomorrow. They can do that. It's entirely up to them. On the right side of the screen, we have a bit of a glimpse into diagnostics. So if you're a network that has a bunch of affiliates, we're going to drop a pin that's really based on the IP address of the affiliate, and we'll be able to zoom in on it, click on it, and right underneath it there, you'll see a zoomed in kind of a view where the engineer or whoever needs access will be able to see the health of the receiver. Primary connection to the internet, the backup connection. They will also be able, which is very helpful, I think, because it's helpful to me, is what is the speed like of their internet connection? So for example, if you have a larger network that has 1,000 affiliates and you're doing the tech support for all of those affiliates, you'll know what their internet health is like really at a glance. But you can also assign that health page to the engineers of the affiliate also. So they would be able to see, oh, you know what, my primary is pretty good, but my backup's not that great. So maybe I'll make adjustments, or maybe I'll get another provider. You know what I mean? So it just gives you pure visibility and at all levels of health. And obviously, if any receiver goes offline, it'll go red on the map. So that I feel is also really important, because we're going to be able to provide this map as a source of a kind of like a heat map, where you'll be able to see, just as an example, like the northern area of Texas, a lot of receivers are periodically blinking red. Well, that could be because that state is potentially having a local issue. But again, with redundancy, it's going to be very, very, very rare. But again, just want to be very transparent and provide as much information as we possibly can to whoever needs it at the end of the day.
Now,
So,
I think you alluded to this earlier, but I want to ask you to drill into it just a little bit. I think one of the really cool features about Prism is its ability to send programming to everybody, all of the affiliates, but then when it comes to the breaks, to be able to send different things to different regions. And I don't know what you call that feature, but I think that's really cool. So, everyone hears the same thing, and then they break away and they all hear different things, and then they break away and they do local things, and then they come back and all listen to the same thing again. And that's all part of the service, right?
It's all part of the service. I'm sorry, I got a tickle in my throat.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's there's people who call it geo-targeting or what have you, but it's basically uh, targeting the trigger to the exact audio that needs to be placed for that affiliate. And it's either imaging, uh, how Kirk mentioned, the bumpers could be commercials, could be like EAS alerts, could be anything. And also switching programming to say, let's say you want all 4 channels now to feed one particular feed now, you can do that too. So I guess to elaborate a bit more, you can slice and dice it however you want, really. And we're constantly listening. Like that's the other thing is if anybody has any other ways that they could kind of like use cases, we're always open to listening to try to figure that out.
You could easily call this the Bucky's feature, because if you're a nationwide network, they don't have Bucky's nationwide. Just run them in the southern states where they are. The Wawa feature for those of you in the northern states that have Wawa. Yeah, there's definitely a possibility. You could also, though, seriously, and there are. I've heard of an example used like National Tire and Battery (NTB) stores. They're not everywhere, so you don't want to pay to run them in markets where they don't have a store. But you can also use this, I would think, for alternate language. If you have some programming that's here I am in Spain and all I hear is American music, in stores and stuff. But when you want to run a Spanish language spot in a Spanish language market on a Spanish language station, then you get that possibility.
Adrian, if I understand what you're saying here, you mentioned that you've got a potential 1,000 station network going. Would you be able to send a different spot to each of those 1,000 stations, or how far does your system scale?
That's exactly what we're doing. Actually, Barry, it's designed to do that from day one in terms of the architecture. So we have always had that in mind. There's broadcasters that call this either geo-targeting or a copy split. It's the same thing, but it's copy splitting at the end of the day. And that's exactly what it does under the hood, actually. It's automatic. It's part of it from the very beginning. So in terms of scale, we've, again, going back to architecture and our obsession about that, there's kind of no limits. It scales automatically. So you can add another 500 affiliates in 2 weeks and it just kind of works. So really, really no issues there. As a builder of services and a person that up until now has had a little bit of experience, I've come to learn that it's very hard to make a system really simple. But that's, as we all know, right? We all struggle as engineers to uncomplicate things because you're already busy doing stuff, and I'm trying to help as best I can to create a system that is easy as possible, so it just kind of gets out of the way.
And then the guy walks in from the other room and hands you a new need, which complicates things just a little bit.
And that's okay. I invite that. It's okay. I like when new challenges or ideas come up because then it just makes it better. Yeah.
The proof of concept that we did for this big broadcast network, who shall remain nameless, was pretty fun because when Adrian got the chance to show them the software for the first time actually working, Yeah, there were a few things that they found in the process that needed to be addressed, but in general, they were shocked at how easy it was to use compared to what they're using now. And almost to the point where they couldn't believe it. It was like, well, okay, show it to me again. How do I do such and such? And it's very elegant. And I think the reason it's so elegant is because a lot of agony went into into the process from Adrian and his devs, where they really just rethought everything. It wasn't how do we copy what the other guys are doing? It's how do we learn from what they're doing and make it intelligent, make it intuitive, make it fun. I look at these software screens and I just want to use them. And there's not a lot of software that's attractive in that way, and it's fun and very intuitive to use, at least to me. I'd like to tell you one more thing, uh, and it's really because I know it's probably on everyone's mind. What's all this going to cost, anyways? Because it does look kind of expensive, and it should be. And I just wanted to share this anecdote with you, that we talked to a potential customer, and he was a small broadcaster. He was sending refresh my memory if I get this wrong, Adrian. I think he was sending 4 programs to about 60 affiliates. And he gave us his number, what he was paying on satellite. And of course, we spent a little bit of time falling off our chairs before we came back and said that's just insane, and it should cost about this much. And the numbers we were coming up with were pretty consistently less than half of what they were paying for satellite services. And so I think that's really the killer here. It's really cool. The tech is really cool, and it's robust, and I think it's brilliant. But it's also half the cost of the status quo. And I think, or less than half the cost of the status quo. And I think when you can get a better product for less than half the cost, you've got yourself a real revolutionary idea, I think.
I do have a question. So does the affiliate also have to have one of these units to be able to receive what you're distributing to them?
Yes, you need to have receivers or decoders, just like now. If they have satellite distribution, there's going to be receivers at the affiliate end. Now,
Right,
who pays for that is going to depend on the business model of the network.
right.
So some networks may say we're going to provide this as part of our program service, and the station is
Yeah.
just going to pay us a monthly fee. And in some cases, maybe it's actually purchased at the affiliate level.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I didn't mean to knock you off your pins, Adrian. Hope I didn't.
You did not?
Okay.
All is good. Like, look, we all know every broadcaster is different. Every broadcaster has their chain done in a different way. Prism again is designed to be flexible regardless, agnostic. And we're always open to working with the structure of how a broadcaster does it, how they wish to do it, and maybe inspire them to do it in a different way as well. It all depends. Everybody's a little bit different, and that's okay. So Barry, just wanted to, thank you again. I think unless Catfish was there anything else you wanted to go through? I'm good. I'm happy to, go through some kind of Q&A, or very open to however you wish.
Yeah, well, if there's anyone that has a question, please raise your hand or hit your alternate A. Let us know. I think it's a pretty interesting scheme here to replace many of the transmission systems that are in operation. And obviously, you put a lot of thought to it. Jeff, hey, welcome.
Thank you. Are you considering having a live wire version?
Yeah. Actually, if you took a look at the back panel of that product, there's actually a little option plate in there that at some point we intend that to be a LiveWire card that would distribute programming via LiveWire, but it may go the other way because Adrian's team has also been playing with the LiveWire implementation and software. So it's possible that it would come out one of the Ethernet ports, but one way or another, we're looking at IP audio as as an option.
Great.
Yeah, this is really just the beginning. It took it took 2 years to get here to the beginning, but it's really, as you know, it's really just the beginning. There's a lot more to come.
Anyone else? I'm
Well,
sure.
it just occurred to me that Catfish is going to need to design another Studio Hub adapter, and that's going to be Studio Hub to a DB9 connector, just like the satellite receivers have for the left and right audio.
Isn't that funny? We make the other one right now. You know, we make the one that plugs into the D9 connector and breaks out RJ45. So now we need to make one that goes the opposite way. You're absolutely right. And we'll get right on that.
Spin your chair around. It'll be fine. It'll work out.
Yeah.
Well, we certainly look forward to seeing how this rolls out, and likely we'll see you at NAB in April, and you'll have more to tell us about it at that point and who's using it.
Absolutely, Barry. We will be at the NAB, and there's going to be, between now and then, you can look out for me on LinkedIn as well. We'll be posting updates now that it's public, off to the races, and there'll be a lot more, as I said, a lot more updates as we go along, for sure.
Yeah, just remember the BDR. We're here.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Okay. Adrian, Catfish, thank you so very much. We are not going to chase you away.
Thanks for having us, Barry.
Again, we really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Floor is now open, and see what else is going on out there. You're still in Spain, Kirk, huh?
Yeah, coming back Saturday morning, and it's been just cold as can be here in Madrid. Man, we just love to get outside, but we can't. Hey, I've got a topic that actually relates to what Adrian and Catfish are doing, and I'm curious as to what other engineers are experiencing. You know, at least most of my radio stations, we have gotten better and better and better internet service over the last 20 years. We started out with frame relay, almost 30 years ago, and now we've got fiber connectivity to, I think, every studio and couple of transmitter sites, and that's great. But now we depend on internet so much that it's really worthwhile to have two rather disparate services. And that second service, in my opinion, can often be something that you wouldn't consider for full time. I mean, it might be a 5G hotspot. It might be a Max Connect device, or whatever you can get from Verizon. Or T-Mobile or something like that, or it may be satellite. We've been playing with some satellite services ourselves, and that seems like it could be a good option for a lot of folks. I just want to hear what other people are doing now that internet is so important to what we do. Better have two.
I think you made a good point about disparate services. You know, getting one service from T-Mobile and the next service from Verizon might not be the best idea in the world if you're, if you want to have some kind of redundancy.
Especially if they're using the same level 3 backbone.
Yeah, they may be sharing something. So I know that with this, we've been talking with Dosch and Max Connect about using the Max Connect wireless as the backup. And one of the cool things is that it's, even though it's metered, the way the Prism system can work is that it will always draw from the main as long as it's there, and only draw from the backup if the main fails. And so that's perfect for a metered system, right? Because main comes back and it restores it, and so you're only paying for the data that you absolutely need in the event of an emergency. So that's kind of a cool fallback.
I think Dosch is also launching one which is unmetered as well now.
Is he? That's cool.
Yeah, unmetered. Yeah.
Okay, Harold?
Yeah, hold on a second. My wife's getting home, so the dogs are barking.
Well, that happens.
Anyway, on backup, we're using T-Mobile fixed wireless for internet here, and I noticed looking through the plans, they have a plan that's entirely for backup, not being your main service. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I haven't looked at it closely as to what they if there's a usage charge or whatever, but it is a lower rate than their normal fixed wireless access.
I've seen it as well, where people get like, a Starlink and a 5G at the stick. You can do it that way too. But again, it just depends on the location itself, right?
I thought it
Now,
was
some
interesting to see that the folks there at Starlink are bringing their satellites down in orbit to reduce the potential of collision and other problems. They're worried about reliability, even though they have 3,000 or 35,000. How many satellites do they have out there? A whole bunch.
Yeah, and packet loss and all that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, they say that it's also slightly reducing their latency. So if you're playing Halo, you have a better chance of shooting the guy before he sees you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Harold, what's up?
Yeah, I think they did have a satellite like blow up or something, and were concerned with the debris hitting other people. I think that's why they were lowering the altitude of it, as I recall reading. And then something I put in chat. Anybody using BitTorrent for program audio distribution? That's sort of the ultimate in having a large number of servers.
Wouldn't that be kind of a non-real-time kind of distribution or a near
It
real-time kind of
it could,
distribution?
yeah, you're going to have some latency.
Yeah.
30 seconds maybe. Is that?
Hmm.
I don't know. I've never used BitTorrent, but I'm intrigued with the idea of having all these servers out there.
Well, I do know of some broadcasters that are doing non-real-time program distribution over the internet. And so that absolutely is a thing. I gotta send my program, 10 minutes before it airs, as a file. And of course that exists and people are already doing that. The Prism, of course, is real time. And so it's designed to replace real-time audio distribution. So a little bit different than file distribution, but I think they can coexist. I think both are,
Yeah.
both have their places.
If I
What
could,
is the latency end to end with Prism?
it's a good question. Yeah, if I could add to that as well, if you're doing file distribution, also Prism under the hood, we're going to be announcing it very soon, but we're putting in a feature where in real time, and if the internet completely wipes out at the stick for 8 or 9 hours, you're still on the air with programming, because we're downloading all of those files that you need ahead of time. So kind of like in that kind of a dynamic way where you don't really have to care if the internet's up or down, even if there's a massive amount of packet loss at your station, it's not going to care. So we've already addressed that. But to answer the question about latency, we've gotten it down to a quarter of a second to up to as long as you wish. There's programmers, or there's program networks that we've been in chats with where they're happy with 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and your receiver can be completely offline for 20 seconds, plug it back in again. Your audio is going to continue in a seamless way without any gaps or hiccups. Again, there's a balance act that you have to play with. What you're really boils down to the requirements, but the black and white is up to, or as quick as a quarter second, and as long as you wish after that. Half a minute, or 2 minutes, up to you.
I keep asking the same question. What happens when the internet goes down and you can't distribute anything? What do you do then? I've
Mark,
got I've
I'm
got
with you.
stations all across the state of Nebraska. Um, yeah, it'd be kind of tough.
Yeah, Mark, I'm with you. It's very tough, but it's also, I feel like it's on the other side, it's also very positive. It has matured to a degree where it's giving us control over a bit more flexibility.
Oh, and I agree with that, Adrian, very much. I remember back in the 90s when, we started sending things over the internet, just simple, as much as I hate to say barracks boxes. There was a lot of problems. ISPs were still trying to figure things out, latencies and how to get the control of things that they needed to get, and basically how to increase bandwidth. And this many years later, of course, it's very much improved, and it's a lot more reliable than it was then. But there's still going to be that one time when something catastrophic happens. Somebody takes the net down, or we have a natural disaster that happens to disrupt. Um, Guys like me, I have no backup at all. Um, Too far to hop microwave links across the state of Nebraska. So,
Yeah.
Well, one way to think about this is, and you're right. I mean, trusting the public internet with broadcasting is always going to make all of us a little bit nervous.
yep,
And but I want to be really clear that this is not internet per se, it's IP. And because it's IP, you don't have to use the public internet if you don't want to. You could actually use, IP services. I even jokingly tell some people sometimes, if you really love satellites, you can get IP over satellite. It would be a little bit ironic, but you could actually use Prism to broadcast to your affiliates over satellite. So it's IP. And I think if you think about it in terms of IP as opposed to the scary public internet, it just causes you to think a little bit differently about what some of your options might be. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Well, and then of course the cost, if you have to look at costs. We're very fortunate on a number of our sites to have backup internet service using a local cell carrier. I think I have 2 sites currently that I cannot get this cell carrier at. In fact, I have looked at Max Connect for one of the sites, but we've been very fortunate. But I just know there's going to be a time where we're not going to be. We have a network of 20 signals, and only 2 of those signals are going to be on the air. Our main transmitter here in Omaha, and a translator about 50 miles away, and that's it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, look, to that point, I'm in Toronto and in Canada. Those of you who know that it was announced that by the end of March, all the dry copper is going to disappear.
yeah,
And a lot of broadcasters are relying on that, copper. And it's just how things evolve in technology. And we just have to adapt as best we can, learn from the downsides of what every tech has. Like, we all agree, like satellite's great. But again, when there's a solar flare or bad snow or ice storm, whatever, nothing is absolutely perfect, but it's our role, I think, in engineering to keep the lights on as best we humanly can with the tools we have available at that time.
yeah, agreed.
It's the best we can do. And actually, to Mary's point, we just have to care. We have to care enough.
Yeah, yeah. It's a passion,
Yeah.
and those of us that have been in it a long time know that passion is pretty strong. I guess I'm curious then if Starlink is all satellite then. If the internet here on the ground goes down, do you still have internet outside of the atmosphere that people can still use? That's a good question.
Well, it's IP.
Yeah.
It depends, you know, at the end of the day, Mark, it depends on the architecture and how the backbones are being relayed and how core infrastructure, like I mean at the core, is being
Oh,
with those guys.
right.
And it boils down to that.
Sure.
And I'm always an optimist. I think that it's only going to get better. As you said, like back in the day with whatever boxes we were using, it was tough. It was really tough. Buffering, stuttering, hiccuping, all that kind of jazz
Oh
was
gosh, stutters,
it,
big time. Yeah.
it was normal. It was completely normal.
Yeah.
So
And the bosses never understood it, and they would get mad. And why are we hearing this? Well, it's the internet. I don't control that.
right. We actually, it's quite interesting. We actually did a test right before the holidays where we were, and now it's in production, where we were trying out where you take the receiver, imagine yourself unplugging the network cable to the primary connection without a backup. So no backup in place, just only one, connection to the internet.
Mhm.
And we were trying to simulate packet loss as best we can. So what we did was every 2 seconds, we were unplugging the cable and plugging it back in, unplugging and plugging it back in.
Right.
We literally did that for over half an hour, and the stream was completely flawless the whole time.
Wow.
So that's a big deal. I was getting goosebumps at that time when that happened. So 10 years ago, I don't think we could have done it, in all honesty. There's no way.
Yeah.
So it has matured. It is getting better, and we're always learning. And like we all say, we just have to care enough.
Yeah. As long
I'm
as we
sorry.
keep the guys, as long as we keep the guys on the backhoes away from the fiber lines, we're fine.
Yeah.
Adrian, I'm going to jump off now because I can't take looking at your tan anymore. It's I've had enough. So, but thank you guys for inviting us. Thank you, Barry. I really appreciate it.
Glad to have you.
So, bye.
Barry, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate the opportunity, and it was really good to meet everybody and, put a face to the name.
Well, we'll hope to follow what you're doing and maybe have you back again later in the year.
I'd be happy to. Yeah, I'd be honored. No problem. All right, everybody, have a great day.
See you
Thanks.
around.
Thanks a lot.